It is my duty, however, to place before you certain facts about the present position in Europe. From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent. Beyond that line, like all the capitalists of the ancient states of Central and Eastern Europe, Warsaw, Berlin, Prague, Vienna, Budapest, Belgrade, Bucharest, and Sofia. All these famous cities and the populations around them lie in what I must call the Soviet sphere, and all are subject in one form or another, not only to Soviet influence, but to a very high and in some case increasing measure of control from Moscow. In a great number of countries, far from the Russian frontiers, communist fifth columns are established and work in complete unity and absolute obedience to the directions they receive from the communist center. I do not believe that Soviet Russia desires war. What they desire is the fruits of war and the indefinite expansion of their power and doctrines. But we have to consider here today, while time remains, is the permanent prevention of war and the establishment of conditions of freedom and democracy as rapidly as possible in all countries. That's an excerpt from Winston Churchill's speech in March, which he made in Missouri on a visit to the United States. So some things that I would point out to you as your teacher, even though I can't see you and I can't walk around the class to see who's on their phones and who's snacking, here's some of the things that I feel are significant. Clearly, Churchill believes that there's a range of countries in Central and Eastern Europe who are subject to increasing control from Moscow. They're concerned about that sphere of influence, which is something we talked about a few weeks back. In these countries, even though it's far from the Russian boundary, communism is spreading, and it's requiring absolute obedience. It's taking all directions over these countries. And he doesn't think, Churchill speaking, doesn't think that Soviet Russia wants war, but they do want the benefit of what war brings and the expansion of their power and their influence. So if that's the case, then he's calling for democracy to spread as rapidly as possible. But note that that's exactly what the Novikov telegram was scared of as far as the United States control, is that we're stating in this letter, we being the Western world, that Russia's trying to increase their sphere of influence, control and command economies around the world and gain power. Here's document A. This is that Iron Curtain speech, and it is really important to know the primary words that were used by these countries so that we don't take arguments out of context. And even though words don't always give us a direct idea of everything that was said and what the intentions were and what the truth and transparencies were, it does give us a real concrete understanding of the messages that were directly sent. So this is the speech that is going to be cited many different times about how the Western world, and we even count Western Europe here, because Winston Churchill is going to deliver this speech, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.